The emerging scholar and innovator calls for acting politically, radically, and collaboratively to meet the most pressing demands of the fast-growing world. He is an award-winning global educator. Mouhammed is the Gambia's country director for the Institute of International Peace Leaders, and it is an organization that promotes peace and security across the world, taking into consideration the UN Sustainable Development Goals with special consideration of SDG 16 and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, interreligious harmony, and climate change. In mid-August 2023, Mouhammed was appointed as the country chairman of the Unity of Nations Action for Climate Change Council, Gambia SDG Leaders. Now, the UNAC SDG Leaders is registered with the government of India as a non-profit organization. Mouhammed is also the global director of media, the global director and also media and public relations of United Youth for Sustainable Globe as well. In a two-week brainstorming that was supported by the United Nations Foundation, Mouhammed is part of thousands selected innovators and activists from around the world who came together to embark on a two-week brainstorming to tackle some of humanity's greatest challenges. After starting discussing the central idea of this book, Mouhammed has received several invitations to make his contribution at international peace conferences, such as the Sivagram Asram Symposium by the Center for Research and Guardian Studies, the Global Peace Summit in Dubai by the Global Peace Change, and the Global Leaders Forum by the Global Forum for Rural Sustainable Development. He is a graduate of International Conflict Analysis and Peace Building from the Teaching Agency for Conflict Analysis and Peace Building in Germany. He did the following trainings with the United States Institute of Peace, UN Civic Military Coordination, Rule of Law, and Media and Arts of Peace Building. The World Book of Records names Mouhammed as one of the most inspiring men on earth in 2022. Over the past few years, he has spoken at a number of conferences on the following topics: gender issues and peace development, peace education, attaining the SDG scheme mechanism, and the techniques to attain the sustainable goals, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome on stage
each and every one of you. I want to say thank you all. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making this hall so colorful. Yeah. So my name is Marietba, the director of this event. So I would just go in straight and give you what I have. Distinguished guests, esteemed dignitaries, partners, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my singular honor and privilege to welcome you all this evening to the grand launching of Paths of Sustainable Peace, here at the prestigious Baba Hotel. Tonight, we gather not merely to unveil a book, but to celebrate an idea that peace is both the highest aspiration of humanity and the most urgent task of our time. This work reflects the sacrifice of those who came before us, the vision of those who guide us, the dream of those who are still fighting for peace, and the collective hope we all share for a more just and harmonious society. Allow me at this point Allow me at this dignified moment to honor the memory of the two late sons of our Republic, the late Vice President, His Excellency Aliou Badara Diouf, and the late Inspector General of Police, Mambu Diop. Their service to our nation was marked by sacrifice, integrity, and deep love for our country. It is in this honor and inspired by their unwavering commitment to peace that this launch takes on even greater meaning. Amazing guests, your presence here today is a testament to your commitment, not only to the author and his remarkable achievement, but to the noble cause of peace itself. It is a gesture of solidarity that reminds us that peace cannot be the burden of one person alone, but rather a shared responsibility of all. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on some of our neighboring countries and even far beyond, we are reminded that peace is not just a dream, but a necessity. It is a necessity for national development, a social justice, and human rights. Part of sustainable peace is a testament to the power of peace building and its importance. And I want to encourage each and every one of you today, before leaving, to grab a material from this hall. Before I conclude, I would like to take a moment to congratulate the mastermind behind today's remarkable event, a brother, a friend, and a shining light to many. Our friendship has been a profound reminder that true safety and strength do not come from material security, but from having some genuine person by your side who can transform every challenge into an opportunity and every negative into a positive. As the event director, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, our sponsors, our supporters, and every individual who has made this evening possible. May this launch serve as an inspiration, and may it ignite in each of us as a renowned determination to uphold peace in our nation and beyond. Honorable guests, you are all welcome to the grand book launch of Paths of Sustainable Peace, and please have a wonderful day ahead.
South and a messenger of peace. I am here to recite a poem entitled Peace. I stand with the flag. People said it colorless yet bright, brighter than the darkness of hate that is supreme, softer than the breath of true innocent soul. O land of the smiling coast so bright, where the river meets the morning light, we raise our voices clear and strong, from fleet paths to city streets. In a tyrant world, scouting stands, making peace and strengthening war. A God with a staff is a messenger of peace. I thank you all.
And I'm the Director General of the Gambia Immigration Department. First, to observe the members of the High Table, my regards and greetings to Dr. Drame, Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, elders and the author and the High Table, members of the security services, other delegates or participants here present, families of those that this book is dedicated to, students, Gambians, and everyone, media, thank you very much. I am here today, not by mistake, and for so you can see immigration as the MC simply, we stand with youth empowerment, gender, and human rights. Our department also strives forward in the governance structure and we are able to recognize our space. One of the most important points to make across here is I spent about 10 years in a peacekeeping zone. And I wish to share with you what I understand with the word peace. It is evident that we gather here for peace. We can see it and we can feel it. What is peace? It is also evident that when getting to be here, wherever we come from, we have seen things along the way that are not peaceful. I meant to say we have hailed from homes with non-peaceful effects, seen things non-peaceful, and are going back from here to make the same effects of peace and non-peaceful acts. One should be wondering, what is peaceful and non-peaceful? How do we nurture peace? And how can we sustain peace in ourselves, homes, gatherings, communities, environment, society, towns, institutions, and the country at large? When, how, why, what, who, and how do we exert peace? Big question. Peace is not the absence of war as it relates to rule of law. Peace is not the absence of a fight, disagreement, or violence. It has gone beyond that. For example, we do hear peace and security, peace and the environment, peace and wildlife, peace and love, peace and prosperity, peace and property, peace and culture, peace and tradition, peace and unity, peace and norms. Is silence an exert of peace? So many questions can be asked about peace. And we can contextualize it in any form. However, peace can be defined in many contexts so long it relates to any subject. It can also mean inner calm and serenity, harmony and coexistence among nations, state of tranquility and calm, happy family, or school with the most socialized events. There are other genesis of this particular word. When we fight fire, we say firefighter. When we are looking out for peace, to fight for peace, there is only one word I know, and that is the peacekeeper. The United Nations defines peace as a state of tranquility, harmony, and mutual understanding among nations, groups and individuals characterized by absence of violence, conflict, and war, and the presence of justice, tolerance, and mutual respect. This is promoted through conflict prevention, peacekeeping and peace building, human rights promotion, sustainable development, international cooperation with Vission reflected in its charter to maintain international peace and security, maintain international peace and security to develop friendly relations among nations, achieve international cooperation in solving problems. This is also guided by principles of sovereignty, non-interference, self-determination, human rights, and international law. This is why we have peacekeeping missions to create stable and secure environment and the rule of law. There are different types of peacekeeping. Traditional peacekeeping, monitoring of ceasefires and peace agreements. Multidimensional peacekeeping involves security, governance, and humanitarian assistance. Peace enforcement using force to restore peace in conflict zones, and peace consolidation, which strengthens institutions. And I want us to just take note of this. Strengthen institutions such as judiciary, security forces, and electoral commissions to ensure they are fair, transparent, judicious, and accountable to its citizens. That impacts on institutional reform, economic development, social cohesion, and security sector reform. We do not call for a divided nation, but we all have a responsibility, in particular for us, the men in uniform. In another context, essentials of humanitarian practice has also taught me to say, it's not peaceful to be walking by a tree and just raise your hands to pluck its leaves for just because you are moving under a tree, which unconsciously you think it's just a tree. Why? Because you're holding a cutlass so you can just swipe a tree trunk. It cries not blood, but rubber, if it's a rubber tree. To me, that's not peaceful. As a member of Red Cross, let's protect our available resources, such as forests, wildlife, and ecosystems. Actions without tangible reasons are known, just the leaf. What sense does it make? Is it peaceful? So it's not just us, but we should look around us. It's not good to litter where it's not designated. It's not peaceful. Some of these are already in the regulations of policing and are misdemeanor offenses. It's just important for us to go beyond what we think is compliance to ethics and good manners. When we go to Europe today, we think they're cleaner than us. It's because we are not able to embrace peace and understand what the word peace entails beyond what we know, but just by definition. Oh, I went to visit Fatou in Senegal, and I tasted their cashew, so sweet. I decided to bring to the Gambia to plant it. Is it peaceful? That's a phytosanitary offense. There are laws and regulations governing actions that we take to carry out. What am I trying to say? When you are in the Gambia, you go to Guinea-Bissau, just take a plant, you come back here. You have no idea that the Gambia is a sovereignty. We are guided by regulations. That cashew seed you just take from somebody's country to bring into the Gambia without going through the health checks, without declaring it, that note that you keep in your bag is an offense. It's not peaceful. And I think these are all things that we should be able to understand peace and what peace entails. So Lulu, we will say, Donya, and we always hear those Ninekadiware to tell you what point is. What about me jigalu always? Every home, every day, you get ton you jigalu. And I think we should go beyond this to understand. But there are other layers. In institutions, we call it breach of code of conduct. At state level, breach of the law, and that's the offense. Peace cannot be attained if you are not able to understand well the content and metaphorical context of the Pulse of Sustainable Peace by Mouhammed Trawally, a young Gambian whose passion and record for peace is recorded with distinction by international institutions and peace advocates. He is able to contextualize peace in our very domestic structure, chaptered in 4 areas. I've read the book to the end, and I've mapped out the Musukuta stage, named after a female, the Garaba stage, Mahatma stage, and the Lisa stage. I wonder why 2 reflections of a feminine name we know in the Gambia, but that doesn't mean Lisa or Musukuta has to be only for female. That's just our understanding, and by norms and tradition and culture. The world has grown beyond that. Let's see what the Musukuta state entails. The Pulse of Sustainable Peace illustrates and describes acts of peace as a strong foundation of education from early child development, parentage and moral discipline, guided by values, beliefs, customs, and culture. This stage allows strong parentage and discipline inculcated in the early days of a child to recognize good and bad acts of family values, actions considered to be normal in their faith, courage, and growth. Mostly, ethics and ethical behavior to our morning greetings, the way we greet our parents, dress code and manners, responsibility, and what we utter, our utterances to each other at what level it comes in. These are not just mere indoctrination into us as children, but values, growth, character, discipline, and love. These structures exist except for the transforming cultures today. It's time to remember when we used to go to Dara, when we were told, Demasamu, the circumcision grand style indoctrination for morality in society, discipline in approach to elders, self-intuition and manipulation to react to occurrences. When things happen, sometimes I understand some people say, yes, when emergencies happen, people just jump to conclusions. Or now people post anything on TikTok or whatsoever, creating their own content, yet people will comment as if they're the jurists. I think we should be very exemplary as Gambians to understand beyond context before you are swept into what you don't know, to make unnecessary comments about individuals whose life no matter to you. This is the responsibility of a whole community, society, and as an individual or group. Tailored by age, we all went through good upbringing. When women talk, it's women that have spoken. When men spoke, at the Bantaba, it's their voice. And no such strong and elegant young man or woman, stranger, refutes what the elders say. I do remember, we all remember, when social structures of today's modern arbitrary structures were the responsibility of the family heads before, Al-Kalulu, chiefs, sets, imam, and common outsider in the village. Peace was a monarch. The Musukuta is given a feminine name as it applies to our society. What I made up is that mothers have a great role in early child development, nurturing, nursing, discipline, and voice. As we are ready for motherhood, then to take responsibility as mothers. I think we should be careful before you invite a child into this world. Understand yourself in all balances. Than to just create that human through the help of God, and we have nothing. But just to send them to normally the daras that normally also look for aid in other countries at the mercy of what? The support of the donors. That's not the reason we have a child. Today, there are enough reasons that we should try to map ourselves within the families and structures that we hail from. Because this is what is dividing our country. Attitude is another question. Who is not from home? If you are Gambian and you hail from here, you will not nurture unpeaceful acts, non-peaceful acts. Because why? You don't want to break your home. So normally, I'm not saying it is coming from strangers, but we have a lot of people that now enter the country. A lot of things are changing. Manners and attributes. And of course, migration, even in America, brings so much development and change. But can't we stick to who we are? Let's continue. Fighting in the household, husband and wife, fury of languages, foul words, storming, ghettos around the home. Come, let's go watch war films. Who is there to make us watch, hear, see, and do what is preferred for our age? Peace at home becomes a moral art and science. Peace is explained. I think Mouhammed has done a good thing. And of course, with time, we'll be able to understand this book. When we sit at home, we say every kind of word disregarding that child. That will again take those words as normal language. Is it fair? When we quarrel at night, every kind of drama, the children in the house will also copy that life you live as a father or mother. Where are our Islamic scholars? Are we even listening to TV or television or radio? Because now we have modern technology. Transforming cultures are taking us away from our heritage. It's not peaceful. the Garaba stage. We do talk about school, and I'm going to school, but for what? The school has been explained but qualified. Attending school in the Garaba stage is described as an institution and a learning environment outside the home that influence the notion, action, and decisiveness of a young, aspiring to be responsible adults. This stage qualifies that schooling and education are different. Did we even know that? Whereas education means intelligence and good character and morals. School without good character and moral decency makes you schooled. Janganade. Why you? Janganade. When no one and a single like Jangana. So people, they have gone to their degree level. Sometimes you hear teachers, he just passed through the school. And now we are receiving a lot of fake results because of technology. Where are we going to? And these are the schools that we are talking about. Is it peaceful? What kind of society are we trying to now groom for the future of this country? Let's get to this book and understand much what the author is saying. Yes, you are school, but if you are educated in any field of study, you will use the knowledge for the good of mankind. Now tell me, which study, which field, which part of the world are we studying to be a thief? I think we should be able to ask this question. The minister is here seated, basic and secondary education. Is there any model that is telling you how to be a criminal? Is there any model in class that tells you how to steal, how to rob a bank, how to kill? No, I don't think. So the school should not be a ground where today we are talking of, okay, arms in school, weapons with students. Is it peaceful? Let's think about it. Meaningful education in society warrants us to live in peace and observe good deeds. Think positive and consult with family, teachers, and elders in society. This state has so much for us to be better people than society. And today, teachings outside moral homes dictates. Most kids will believe teachers than parents. The teachers do have a lot to do. These structures are in our schools, unless family heads and teachers are not in consultation, yet we have the Parents Teachers Association. Students, I beg you all to follow due diligence. Your dwelling, your action, your environment, and leisure time should be peaceful, and you need not stress. Family heads, mothers, fathers, guardians should not expose you to fit their economic and financial gains, but to educate you. Sometimes a child is subleased to us, but because she has to go and sell ice, I don't know what that means. When she becomes vulnerable to the society today, how many of us would send someone and guide you properly that this is what you should do and not? I think there's another stage, the Mahatma stage. It's important we do discuss about this. The book has a lot to discuss and it relates to our society. The Mahatma stage is apparent that from our homes and schools, we find ourselves in institutions. These institutions cover a larger extent to be workplaces. We must understand that institutions are another setting with concept of operations, standard operating procedures, and bounded with code of conduct and ethics and ethical standard behavior. Core values such as professionalism, respect for diversity, and integrity. Those are the drivers of peace. Workplaces such as courts, police stations, companies, agencies, hospitals, and etc. are guardians of peace. For they are guided by processes, procedures, norms, and institutional culture that compound breeding ground for accountability, justice, and responsibility upon which development is sustained. Therefore, the Mahatma state is a driver and fundamental to peace, progress, and prosperity of our nation. It embodies governance through institutional policies, regulations, and general orders within institutions and its staff at workplace. Any workplace you are is guided by those strict disciplinary measures from home and from the school. But today, we're talking of corruption, we're blaming government, but as an individual, how much peaceful are you in this line, in this process, in this industry? Therefore, peace is registered when institutions reckon its existing policies and regulations, and its benchmark enveloped with justice and fairness for all. Because he's an ASP, because I don't like him, because he has sterling qualities, and he's polite, and I don't possess those qualities, when it is my own fault to be looked upon. Now, I have to just find a way of eradicating. Now we go to those mythical signs of our heredity, thinking that you are going to a marabout to depose somebody of a position. Doesn't that marabout go to apply for visa? Why not all marabouts are in America right now? So you allow somebody to hybrid you, put you into a shrine and apport that keeps your thinking to keep them surviving. Whatever you are, you just go and deposit. Luring you to explain your problem, when of course, yes, if you believe in anything, it works for you. But you don't know the fate of another. I think it's time to find peace with ourselves. Believe in what's your qualities and character, and good character will never fail you. In the same vein, there are institutions that are checkers or otherwise provide instruments and all tools for building peace and find non-peaceful arena. And I will say, those institutions serve to promote peaceful coexistence among groups of institutions, individuals, and/or individuals against institutions. It is imperative to create awareness and training at workplaces to consolidate peace, nurture peace, and propagate peace. Programs such as professional leadership trainings are essential for staff, refresher gatherings, and staff parties to help to bring a relaxed rest. I must say that at this, I have an example of a proprietor, Lucas. The proprietor jokes and plays with every staff. I went there and what I saw was amazing. If you like, try go to Lucas and see how this gentleman and all his staff, they will not hide. Good leadership does not mean that your staff has to see you and start running home. I think what I saw at Lucas was amazing. Gambians who work with that gentle office, that restaurant can tell you and find out. Define peace at workplace is horrible, and I must say, for us to be in uniform, Akala provides day-to-day check on discipline and the disciplinary actions on default. Sometimes schools like AMTIC were known for instilling discipline in the highest levels. Can't we have more of AMTIC high schools? Let's think about it. Everyone who passed through AMTIC, you still remember. And I think, well, it's now what we should be talking about. I think there is a lot for us to discuss. Because our future, our country, those development aspirations lies in our hands. The least stage and the last stage. It's a public sphere where transforming cultures are evident. Time is up, but I need to go ahead with this. Tradition, culture, and conventional gatherings, marketplaces, football fields, parks and ceremonies, traffic and restaurants, etc. are breeding grounds for peace. A flashback to then Bantaba, night storytelling, circumcision booth sites, mosques, churches and sermons, radio and TV. They provide an ideal person with head to otherness, humanity and moral lessons, peaceful for a decent living. However, the same places now incubate indecency due to transforming cultures, thus effect of science and technology, climate change, migration, man-made innovations, and etc. Culture and tradition, including for arts and media, were then so defined and aligned to peace and preventive articulations. Here we are reminded with symbols and historical remains, resolutions and agenda for peace by the highest institutions of the world and peace defenders. Peace today is normative by driving with friends in a human truck with mega sound drones of Usher on highways, stunting vehicles at traffic roundabouts to amaze passers-by. Stay in your own room in a hostel and shout out for real, amazing grace. Peace today is contextual and morally driven by the likes of taste, fashion, and use of illicit drugs to many and all indecencies in France and times, hairstyles, and freak out. Yes, it's beautiful, but the means justifies the ends. How productive is our actions when we work for the money? The energy wasted, how sustainable and how strategic, how economic, how resilient, how much funding is generated to make before one can be peaceful or maintain peace. Peace in the public sphere is that same peace that is consensual, ethical, and measured right with the right manners and application, secured or endured in the right time in every given situation. From this point, we should be accountable to our actions as personal security. It's personal responsibility. So is peace. Peace should be embraced, and that is what Lamin is talking about in the book. Thank you very much.
The heart, the might of the body, the will, all must be summoned, energized, and put in the service of country and people before you can have peace. The engine of peace is service. Service is the engine of peace. We must serve and we must be served. That's what Mr. Trawally is emphasizing. But the driving force of peace is the will. If you want to transform a human being into a slave, you must break his will. You must break the will of the donkey so that you can ride on its back. You must break the will of someone to be able to oppress and suppress the person. That's why the military strategists called Broadways say that war is the imposition of will, your will, on your adversary. If you cannot impose your will on your adversary, you cannot be victorious. So that is why it is very significant for us to understand that peace is a universal phenomenon that we must look at from a very specific perspective to understand it and to be able to know what it demands of us to contribute to it. There is this philosopher called Socrates. He was tried and eventually convicted and sentenced to drink hemlock, which is a poison, as a death penalty. He said, there are many means to be able to escape danger. If you will say anything and do anything. But he said the difficult thing is not to escape death, but to escape depravity. According to him, it runs faster than death. And because he is old, he will be caught by death. But his joys will be caught by wickedness. And he accepted his sentence that he will go to death, but his joys will be sent as you do, as you perpetrate injustice against another person, you're just exercising power, which is transient. The same thing with Lumumba. When he was being killed, he said, brutality, cruelty, torture will not make him beg for mercy. That he will die with his head unbowed in order to maintain sacred principles. I am showing the willpower of human beings that are enabled us to change society in order to move to the type of society where we say the will and consent of the citizens will determine their manner of government. So we must unite our willpower, all of us, free it, in order to build a society that we all own before we can have peace. That is why the League of Nations, after the First World War, saw the brutalities that occurred, that they agreed that there must be international cooperation, so that they will develop certain fundamental principles that will guide them. And they will all agree never to resort to war. But now they must develop certain principles of open society, open relation, just relation among nations. And then to prepare conventions that all of them will respect. So we are seeing the legislative dimension of peace. We are seeing cooperation, the diplomatic dimension of peace. But we are also seeing the willingness, the willingness to have peace. The same thing with the United Nations. When it was coming into being, what they said, they want to save succeeding generation from the suffering that took place after the world wars, 2 world wars. And they agreed that they must now have faith in human beings, in their human rights, in the equality of men and women, of human beings, of nations, small or big. And they must cooperate to have international laws that all of them will respect to have peace in the world. I'll be brief. I am saying that we have ideals of laws, ideals of values, ideals of what is peace. But those ideals will never become reality until we build the type of societies that can guarantee peace. That is the challenge. The type of society that can guarantee peace must fundamentally emerge from what happened in world history. After the First World War, all the nations began to see that nations must not dominate each other. They must have the right to liberation. And therefore they agreed that the colonial borders of all countries will now serve as the borders of independent nations in the world. And all of them should become part of the United Nations, and they should cooperate to have world peace. But in terms of international aspect of peace, what they created was a security council, now with 15 members, 5 permanent members. But those 5 permanent members can have veto powers. Russia is engaged in war in Ukraine, but if you want to take Russia to the United Nations, it will veto whatever the United Nations Security Council does. The same thing with the United States. They will veto. So they have veto powers. So if we are going to promote international peace, that structure must be examined. Structured in such a way that if you are engaged in war, then you should not participate in decision making that deals with what you are in. Those rules must be established at the level of the United Nations, so that the nations that engage in war will have no moral authority to participate in decision making. If we don't do that, the architecture of peace will still be fragile. And that is the situation in the world today. The architecture is fragile. We can talk a lot about this, but you see what is happening in Gaza. In fact, because I don't have much time, I'll just give you an example. Where, because of the war in Ukraine and Russia, Germany recently, I was reading, was planning, their health sector was planning how many people will be injured a day if they were engaged in war with Russia. And they say 1,000 people. So they are now building means of evacuating those people. So those people are preparing for war, not peace. They are investing in war, not peace. So we cannot sit here and talk about abstract concepts of peace. The world is in danger because we do not have a leadership that is committed to peace. And because of that, the fragmentation of the continent, and it is increasing. Communities are beginning to emerge because of fragile political system. So peace is not a luxury. It's a matter of life and death. What Mr. Trawally is doing today is to start a conversation. It's the beginning of a conversation. National, continental, and global conversation. We can learn, and that's why the minister must take note that we must teach people peace. That's what Mr. Trawally is saying. Education is about socialization. It's helping to nurture values. It's not only respecting laws, but just laws must be made and inculcated in human beings, then they serve as our code of conduct. Code of international conduct for nations, code of conduct for families, code of conduct for countries, code of conduct for institutions. We need code of conduct everywhere. But as he has rightly said, peace must start with education. It has a knowledge base. So fundamentally, the family is the starting point of education. So if you have educated family members, not education being able to read and write, it's being cultured to have values, to know what enhances the development of society. And you inculcate those values in those young people as they grow. So the family has a role to play. But the school is what we call para-parental institution. And the teacher is a para-parent to the value of the family. So the lesson you are learning in the home should be the lesson you are learning in the school. And it goes to feed the life of society, the peer group, and ultimately everywhere. So in short, I am commending Mr. Trawally for starting, know that always the frictions in the home, frictions in the streets, frictions everywhere. But how do we contain it? Is where Mr. Trawally is emphasizing that we must educate, and educate. And I must recommend that we should also have a peace and reconciliation commission. Because you have the crisis everywhere. So the ripples are clear. We can ignore them at our own peril. Human rights commissions cannot address those issues. So you need a peace and reconciliation commission where people can approach. If you have land issues, you go there. They start looking at it. So my conclusion is that we cannot address all the problems at the same time. But we can begin the process of addressing them. The first point of call is the education that is said to us to start. To know our problem in the first place is how the solution to it.
Is titled The Fear of My Truth, and it goes, I held my truth, not like a flower, but like a knife, its blade pressed between my ribs, too dangerous to say, too painful to keep. I was told, my story is powerful, but power is frightening when you have been taught that survival means silence. So I mastered the art of smiling with thin lips, learned to speak in safe tone, never too loud, never too broken. Because truth, this truth, is not police hostages. It is messy, heavy, shaking like hands that have had too much pain. Yet, call it normal. I come from a place where girls hide their traumas in proverbs, where healing is whispered behind curtains, and vulnerability is mistaken for safety. When I first wrote a verse about the night I almost disappeared into myself, my pen trembled like a body trying to remember what it tried so hard to forget. Each line felt like a risk. Each word a rebellion, because then telling the truth wasn't just speaking, it was surrendering. But in poetry, I found myself when no one cared to find the real me, the lost me, the forgotten me beneath a house of expectations. When the world asked for strength, but never the story behind it, my notebook became a mirror that didn't flinch at my scars. My verses became stitches from wounds that wouldn't close. And still, I feared what they would think if I told them. Sometimes, I have cried not knowing why in a room full of people. Sometimes, even my joy feels borrowed. Yet, I am learning to believe my own voice deserves to echo. Maybe bravery is in the absence of fear. Maybe it's speaking with the fear still present. Maybe it's choosing honesty even when your voice cracks and your eyes burn. So now, I stand here not fearless, but free. Because this stage isn't just a performance. It's a place where truth unpacks its luggage and finally rests. Thank you.
Me, Uncle Aliba's father, Uncle, he was described as a well. And this well never gets dry. You can fetch in as much water as you can, but the well will never get dry. That's so he's a fountain of rain. I also wish to recognize the director of the Vission, Mr. Wu, who partially has done part of my work. And of course, the very person who makes us to assemble here today, Mr. Mouhammed Trawally. Mr. Mouhammed Trawally, I wish to congratulate you. You have added your name today in the list of Gambian authors. You have also added your name in the list of West African authors. And you have also added your name in the list of world authors. And not only that, but you have also emerged with a solution to one of the most paragons in the world that is everybody's headache. But to sum up the book, and Mouhammed Trawally's personality is captured in a poem that reads, "So be the creator of mind, whose skillful hands and thoughts divine, did mold me into a frame without a dream, and gave me the dream. In this path of strife and hatred, buttressed by iron and faith, grant me to live to love mankind, and all unthoughtful diseases rescind. May I learn to serve the poor. May I live to serve the weak and the meek, so that when death wins, I shall not miss eternal pathway in bliss." That's Trawally. He has left a legacy. And what is the legacy? This very book. This book will remain for generations to come. to solve their problems. Where it is said, as unchangeable as the past, something that is written would never change. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the book. Look at the book. Look at the cover of the book. What do you see? The whole universe held by some hands, some arms prostrating upward. That tells you the cover itself teaches you a volume about the book. That the whole world can be under our control, provided we work together. Look at the rainbow lines. It tells us a lot. And what you have there, paths of sustainable peace. When I got the book, my mind struck the biblical adage, what are paths to peace? But that's a different adage here. The interpretation is different. Look at the bulb, the back of the book. A picture of a handsome young man striving to solve the whole universe problem. That is peace issue. And I was very much entrapped when I look at the title itself. My mind went to Mama Gandhi, who says, since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that defenses of peace must be constructed. Not at the battlefields, not the bomb cells, not the tornadoes, but in the minds of the men. Because it's in the minds of men war is constructed. So the defense to be constructed in the minds of the men. That Uncle Halifa taught about the mind, which is very key. If you look at page 10, go to page 10, ladies and gentlemen. But I will not tell you all. The best thing is to buy the book. Buy the book. No matter what speakers who stand here today, they cannot exhaust this book. As it is said, it is just like the work of a sculpture, depending on the angle that you stand. But ladies and gentlemen, this book is very rich. I was very happy when I look at page 10. The author is very grateful. And gratitude is so important. There is no intellectual dishonesty. The author categorically mentioned very important people who played a very important role in his life. Remarkably, he mentioned Chano Omar Pari, which is not a surprise to me. It's very important. He contributes, encourages all Ghanaian authors. And the author did not mince his words without thanking Chano Omar Pari. Then you go to page 12. He is the defendant. War can be resolved without going to war, without any violation of human rights. An example he has taken is between India and China, when there was a border crisis. They did not go to war. What they did was, they resolved it through diplomacy. And that's what Mahatma Gandhi preached. And Mahatma Gandhi believed in what we call Satyagraha. That is, in resolving issues, there has to be no violence. And this is a lesson, not only.
My colleague, Mr. Hamadi Seka, and other members of the High Table, Mouhammed, Trawally, thank you very much for extending this invitation to me. Security officials here present, the Deputy Permanent Secretaries of the Ministry of Youth and Sport and Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, esteemed families of the late Vice President, His Excellency Badara Ju and IGP Mouhammed Ju, invited guests, the media, ladies and gentlemen. It excites me so much today to be in your midst to celebrate a book that would not have come at a time better than now. To reiterate, not to introduce, but to speak about a matter that is fundamental in nation building for our country, that we had expected to begin from the homes. It appears education and peace are synonymous. Therefore, education begins in the homes. When a child is born, it is very important that they are nurtured and educated in the right way, because it fundamentally affects how they behave and how they relate with society later on in their lives. So I want to say that the education of every child in this country ought to begin in the house or homes. When a child reaches the age of 3, in some contexts or some communities, that is the time that the child is sent to school. So before the age of 3, we need to think about the nurturing of this child from the ages of 1 to 3. It's a very critical time of the life of a child. And just to say by fact, education plays another important role in their education, in their upbringing, or their life generally, in making them complete human beings when they are to be produced to society. When you go to school, how many hours do you spend in school? 6 to 8 hours. The longest is 8 hours. That is if you remain in the school and go for extra classes, just to help you learn. The day is 24 hours. What that tells us is that the child spends more time at home than they do in school. That does not exclude the school from taking up their role in the education and the proper upbringing of the child. But it is a complementary effort, and I want to say fundamentally and by far, and majorly, when it is done well in the homes, it is easier in the schools. Any child that receives a very good upbringing in the homes cannot misbehave in school. It's not possible. The teacher asks you to stand up, you will stand up with respect. The teacher gives you a homework, you go home, do the homework, and present your homework the next day. The child is only stubborn if they don't receive the attention that they require, major from society or from where they are coming from. Therefore, it's very important for us to take note of this as parents. Some of us here are parents, to ensure that we deliver that responsibility that has been given to us by the Almighty in terms of the upbringing of the child. This is very important. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with honor, now I want to refer to my speech, and humility, definitely, and a deep respect that I join you all today to celebrate Mouhammed and his peace. We also want to reflect and remember the late Vice President, His Excellency Father Rajouf, and Inspector General of Police Mahmoud Joe. They dedicate their lives to serving our country. The book that we all are gathered here today to launch, Pearls of Sustainable Peace, is a fitting tribute to their lasting legacy and an emotional call for the pursuit of peace in all spheres of our society. Peace is from the foundation upon which nations thrive, and the Gambia is no exception to that. It is nourishment from which education, prosperity, and freedom spring. As the great Nelson Mandela once said, and I quote, he said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And indeed, this is very true. In my role as Minister for Basic and Secondary Education, and I was very very excited with the drama that we saw played here. And I reflected on it. And it appears it's a reflection of us. Although at the end it was good, in the beginning there is a lot that we should learn from. The gentleman or the boy who sat not doing anything and was complaining and blaming the system for not completing his education. Basic and secondary education is free in this country. And tertiary and higher education is becoming more, we have a lot of it around. We have a lot of TVET centers, higher education, university education merely is becoming free because there are scholarships everywhere. So why should our boys and girls loiter in the streets in the name of not having anything to do? So that is an attitude that we need to change as a people. In fact, by far, there is no way as a citizen of this country that you can sit and say you have nothing to do. It's not true. There is always something to do. You may see yourself to be above that thing, but we as human beings, as people, understand that there is one supreme God that is in charge of everything in this world, that there's time, what everyone will be and what they will get in this world, the happier we will become. There is nothing in this world that you can achieve or you can attain or get if it is not destined for you. Abadan. So wherever you are in this world, you just need to do your best. Do your best and leave the rest with God. Because He gives and He deprives. So the moment you understand this, through education, of course, through education, if you're not educated to understand it, you think what Lamin has, he does not deserve it, it is you who should have it. And you start fighting Lamin. Our brother Digi mentioned something here that touched me. Shirk. Right? Someone has something, you think they shouldn't have it. You go to the Marabouts. Who are you? The greatest of people, our Lord, said, if they commit shirk, He will not forgive them. The greatest of men, like the prophets, even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He said, وَلَئِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ. That's what Allah said to Prophet Muhammad, who is beloved according to our religion, to our Lord, that if you should believe in anything other than me, I will destroy everything that you have. So we should learn. Let's not just learn what is around us. Let us learn where we are coming from. Let us learn about our religion. Most of us here, all of us, precisely, are either Muslims or Christians. And all this religion teaches very good values, very good things. And once we hold on to this, wallahi, we will all be good human beings. The bribes will never be taken from anybody. The kind of things these children were depicting here will not happen in our country. We will be peaceful in the midst of other people, right? Yes. But when we are in the company of other people, they will feel safe. Because we are peaceful beings. Because we have that kind of nurturing, that we believe, that we respect and value ourselves. And we are content. Contentment is very important in life. So this book is very important. But reading this book alone does not change anybody. It does not change you if you don't believe in it. So you have to believe in it, value it, so that you can be changed by reading it. So as a country, we should understand that safeguarding our peace is not merely a duty of governance or security. It is a sacred responsibility to secure the future of every child, of every Gambian child. Vice President Jube's leadership, even at that level, to tell our people that we have to be candid, and he was very unapologetic in saying, using everyone to fulfill their duties and responsibilities with integrity and dedication. Late IGP Job's commitment, I believe, ensured that protection of law and order shields the vulnerable amongst us. As Mahatma Gandhi said, or reminds us, he said, peace is not the absence of conflict. We heard it from the other speakers, but the ability to cope with it. We have to be resilient. We have to be disciplined. You see the money, discipline yourself. Don't take it, it doesn't belong to you. The temptation comes around you, turn. Don't get involved. It's up to us. We have to demonstrate that commitment and that ability to contain ourselves, our desires, our nerves. Nobody can change that. Nobody can make you do that. It's you. It's you who should say to yourself, I will make it. And by the grace of God, I will do everything that is right to ensure I make it, and you will get exactly what is meant for you. And you have to be contented with that. That is very important. This book, I believe, captures the stories of these Dua and their vision for the Gambia that values sustainable peace, the kind of peace that is not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice, inclusiveness, and opportunity. This stems from a deep commitment to advancing national security and peace building from the grassroots, embodying, of course, the vision for this country, which is to uphold peace throughout our country and all the time. This also aligns with development goals such as the SDGs and our broader national development priorities. The Pearl of Sustainable Peace is more than just a book. It is more than just a book. It is a powerful social transformation and civic engagement that can be used to guide societies onto a new path of sustainable peace. Education plays an essential role in this journey. It is the beacon that illuminates the path from conflict to understanding, from division to unity, from despair to hope. The children in our classrooms today are the architects of tomorrow, or tomorrow's peace. And this is very important. It is our mission as educators and leaders to equip these children with knowledge, values, and critical thinking skills that nurture tolerance, empathy, respect for human dignity. The sacrifices of late Vice President Diouf and IGP Joe compels us to renew our commitment to build a society where peace is embedded in every fabric of our daily lives, from our homes and schools to the highest halls of government. It compels us to foster safe learning environments where every child, regardless of background, gender, or circumstances, can thrive. Let us move forward with determination, aware that legacy of true leaders is not only measured by their achievements, but by the enduring peace they bequeath to future generations. They have done their part. It is up to us to do ours, so that we can also be in history books. In closing, Chairman, I extend my deepest condolences. We continue to express that, and prayer to the late Vice President and IGP Joe. May their souls continue to rest in peace, and may their legacies continue to guide us towards the brighter and more powerful Gambia that we should be known of. Congratulations, Mouhammed, Trawally, for this wonderful work that I hope and believe will not only be read, but understood and practiced. Thank you very much for your attention.
A poet, and today I'm here to recite a poem. The title of the poem is Chigim. I think I will explain this in local language for better understanding. maa leen di jaajëfal di leen nuyu ñeen ñëpp nekk sa tur ak sa sant su ma limee rek juum The title of this poem is Jigéen. Li tax ñu binda taalif bi mooy dañ gis li bëri loo xamante ne mu ngi xaw si suñu kër yi surtout suñu yaay suñu rakk yu jigéen yi suñu bàyyi yu jigéen yi ñi nga xamante ne si boobu sëy te lu ci ëpp doole dañuy dugg ci néegi sëy ak am yaakaar ne suñ si duggee dinañ ci am bànneex baate dinañ si gis li nga xamante ne mooy yërmande waaye dangaa gis ne si ak tëj bu ndaw soppeeku dina am dinañ gis lu ëpp doole si jigéen yi dugg si néegu sëy dinañ di daal di gis seen rongo yi ñu amee ay naxar te li si gën a métti mooy dinañ am li nga xamante ne mooy naxar waaye duñ gis kenn ki nga xamante ne moo leen di dimbale pour génne nañ ci naxar bi donte sax pour am sa li nga xamante ne mooy suturaale li si ëpp doole mooy li nga dugg si néegi sëy am fa benn banta ñaari banta gis ne sa borom kër du la may jàmm te soo demee say kilifa yi ñu ne la toogal nga sëy muñ la ñu ko kilifa diina mbaa te imam wala aada kilifa aada cosaan loolu la lay wax muñal sëy muñ la sëy yàq lañ ko laaj te fekkal doomi aadama boobu nu mbaa sa doom wala sa sista wala sa bàjjen mu ngi dundal loo xamante ne suñu nelaw suñu tëddee du nelaw te yaa ngi ko wax sëy muñ kon war nañ si wax war nañ si jóg te war nañ si jàppale ñi nga xamante ne ñooy suñu yaay suñu sisters suñu bàjjen si seen dugg si saa yi bu ñëwee si kilifa diine wala si kilifa aada yi wala si imam yi nañ try ñu wax leen li nga xamante ne mooy yoon nit du mën a soppal toolu diggante dund ak dee da ko wax sa yàlla muñal say muñ la sa jëkkër sa yàlla lañ ko laaj loolu mu ngi lor suñu yaay yu bëri mu ngi lor suñu sista yu bëri mu ngi lor suñu bàjjan yu bëri te foog naa ne war nañ ci taxaw bu baax a baax a baax a baax ñu dooleel leen kon piis bi ñoom laa ko jagleel piis bi nag is a book la written by Dr. Yahya Cham. But Yahya Cham have to invite me to write a poem from the book, and the title of the book is He Beats Me So Hard. And here it is. ñu ne daaru jigéen sëy la waaye daaru sëy ci néegu sëy yërmande la guddi gi njëkk xeet la bànneex soppeeku naxar xolam fees na jëkkëram a ko na ko kidnappé xolam tax ko ci bu mu sëy ci sunna ak farata si biir néegu sëy jabar la war a doon di jaam borom kiram war a doon tegam ceeni or mu di ko takkal balaa bor di seet muslim bu góor bi mu wékk ko jàpp xolu ndaw si jam ci dagatee yaramu ndaw si di dóor te bi takkal ko buggu jaam bi ndaw si làkku na rukum làkku fi ne seyow foofu dégg dara lu xikat ak ngelaw làkku du joy dëjam ragal yow ay dëkkandooram te kenn teewu yenn saa yi mu dund lu tudd wax kenn te kenn du sib bari lu mu war a nettali te gisul kenn koo nettali ay at mu ngi koy toroxal te ko bundu ko dal xëy ko jàmm ak góom-góom xelam firi laa ko naa ko sori xelaat di ko dikkal muy xelaat jamono moom kenn ak boppam doonoon jigéen ju bari xam-xam te coono àdduna ci ndottam ba mu ñàkk jomam ak kóolam xolam neexul yëgatul ba neex teel a gën a jàppale dina soxla ndimbal muy xàcc di yuuxu walloo di sàq ko yedd nit wan ko yoon bi kilifa diina aada ku si nekk di si wax xalaatam ñu naan ko toogal muñ sëy muñ la na nga fa sëy ba sëy sa àddina mu sa ron tàmpu jëkkër waxtu bi di daw te xaaral ba di xol di taxaw te saay bu mu waxee ñu ne ko di takk sa sëy bi tasut ko baatu fa sa gasal bax suul ko sëy muñ la ndaw si tiit na jàng na bi duróog malaat ragal naa toog kër ga toog fa dafay gën a tumuranke xiif ak mar na ko fa rey te nit si diiru dundum diggante dund ak deera xelam si njaboot ñu wattal ko ndox yëpp ko xool diggante yaay ak doom du mu sa tey doom gis ñuy fitnaal yaay fitna ci gàlle bi te xamuñ kañ la mu tey borom kiram ëllëg lu mu mën a sóor la waaye xelam xelaatu ko biir xolam yëgatu ko njaboot yi seen xol fooy seen ko tuuru seen ngoy tuuru gis duñu ma laanu sutura ñu muuru yaay ci ak xelam doon di xelaat ay pexe pour rek tekki bu mu jàmm ànd ak njaboot yi daw laa ko fu jàmm nekk fi mu seen laaf ñu picc ramatu yàlla na jàmm doon sa seetu yàlla bu sell si góor bi dóor yow miy góor ana looy dóor di fitnaal jigéen doolee ko si jigéen xanaa xamoon yërmande la ñu ne bu garab daanoo xob yàlla jigéen bu génnee kër ga wéet loo yéenewul sa bopp bul ko yéenee jigéen fii ku fi yaakaar yàlla nga yaakaar mu yaakaar ci yàlla yaakaar ci yow jël xolam jox la nga xiit tas yaakaar du yoon na rafet tegu ci yoon toroxal jigéen du yoon ku la def lu dul yoon yow mi jigéen sa àq la pour nga dem si yoon bul fàtte réew mi dafa am yoon gomal sa bopp comme yàlla mooy mee te ne si yoon yàlla borom bi di nii samp taxaw te bul tiit amal sa fulla fayda ak fit jigéen yëpp légende jàmbaar ni Kunta Kinte ñoom dañu teel a xëy guddee wàcc di jox di teel a ñu dee ngir rek bañ gàcc ragal di jéggi raay ñoom dañuy jéggi neexaayu fajar pour rek métti di njaboot yi ñu raay takkul liggéey fayeku def ko si njaboot yi mooy seen bëgg jigéen ay jàmbaar jogo ma ci kër ñëpp a xare yi moo du xare yi ma ci digg kéew maag sama microphone di laaj yow muy jigéen noo mën a dundee naxar ak métti sa bëgg si te nga ndaw ko ci mu lool la tey ak ëllëg te nga nekk fi yaa ngi si yoon di xaaru ëllëg te nga nekk fi jël nga say responsabilité bu mat di fàtte sa jaar-jaar démb boo doon taalif kat ma di nga ko téere góob la woon waaye tey def na liggéey nga def si liggéey di si jàngale di si yeet jigéen ju ne man si gis boppam ngir ëllëg mu man ciy dindi boppam taalif bi ku si bëgg a am lu yaatu am si xam-xam ak leer bi nit woon ko yomb na gëstu ju téere Dr. Yahya Cham. He beats me so hard, and I believe y'all happy well. It is your poet, Nas Chobis. Peace. Amen.
Honorable Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored to have this privilege to speak for and about the late Inspector General of Police, who personally enlisted me into the Gambia Police Force. What an honor. But again, it's about somebody who has served his people, has served his country for all he has been in this country. And the fact that today we are launching a book which correlates so much with what he does, the maker of peace, who is more peaceful than the Inspector General of Police, responsible for security of this country. It's more than timely. And I know it's a moment when we talk about the late Inspector General of Police, Mahmoud Joe, a lot of reflections and a lot of emotions. And this is emotional to me because I had a personal relationship with you. And those, each and every one of you, even though the other. But this is a person who has sacrificed everything, his entire youthful age and old age, just to ensure that we live in peace. That today we are able to be here in peace. And Mouhammed, we are more than honored on behalf of the Gambia Police Force, but also on behalf of the Inspector General of Police, who I am representing here, to express our gratitude in recognizing not just him as a person, but the institution from which he was. That we are grateful and that we are happy to be part of this, because of recent we have seen a lot that is happening. But as we even sit here today, the Director General of Immigration has said a lot. And while I sat there looking at him, when he was speaking, a lot was going on in my brain. As we speak here, since yesterday to today, I guess we all know what is happening in this country. You see me in and out, responding to messages and trying to see how best we can see that peace that Trawally and every speaker here has talked about is sustained. And it's a responsibility upon everybody. And Honorable Salah has said, this is the beginning of a conversation. And I think this conversation should not stop here. Let us not just read the books for the pleasure, but what is important is the application. Because when we say the police have done something wrong, that's the claim out there, the police have done wrong. So the citizenry charge the police by doing wrong? Is that the expectation? Is this what the Gambia will be? That we are going to correct wrong by doing wrong? I'm taking advantage of this moment because I'm in the capacity as a public relations officer for the Gambia Police Force. And what is happening as we speak is very unlawful. And that the Director General of Police has said this, that it begins from home. All of us are from homes. All of us are from home, and it is our responsibilities as parents to talk to our youthful population. It is the responsibility of each and every one of us to try as much as possible to put sense in our youth. Yes, it's a democracy, but democracy goes with responsibilities. There are laws. To everything that happens, there is a procedure, and our expectation is that the youthful population of this country, the future leaders of this country should understand that, and that whatever we are doing, we ensure it is in accordance with those established procedures and laws. On that note, I don't want to make another speech here, but I want to thank you for organizing this. Trawally. Congratulations, and thank you.
First of all, I have the most difficult task is to make the last boring speech before everybody disappears. I'm sure everybody's eager to go now. But it's a kind of a naming ceremony, right? So in a naming ceremony, there will always be some pleasant moments, so maybe something is hidden. So please, the serious and the fana, just wait and be patient. I will first begin by acknowledging the members of the High Table. I'm honored to speak after the Honorable Minister. I think protocol will require that I speak before the but I think when we launch the books, we have our own protocol, right? Honorable Dr. Habibatu Drame, Honorable Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, and the two Deputy Permanent Secretaries with whom I have worked with. The Deputy Permanent Secretary, Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, who was then my Director of Science and Technology when I was Permanent Secretary there, and the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Musa Bay, of Tourism and Culture, who was also my Director is, exactly, Youth Sports, sorry. Youth Sports, when I was briefly the Permanent Secretary in that ministry. Our Honorable Brother Halifa Salah, the Honorable DG of Immigration, Mr. Ibrahim Ambu, a brother and a friend, my respected brother, friend, and school colleague from high school to date, Michael Hamadi Seka, who is my senior brother, and the distinguished approach in which I find the security service here in numbers. When I'm launching my book, if you do not come, I think I'm going to be. But I am really delighted that even the security services now are responding positively to book launches. And I'm really, how do you call it, Modlamin. I have to learn from Modlamin. He has a very, very good PR, right? And then the star of the day, Mouhammed Lamin, and his family, and all those present here, writers, poets, dramaturgs, and everybody here, family members, and briefly also the families of the two distinguished personalities who have been honored. His Excellency Liet Badara Ali, who was my minister and the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, and the Inspector General of Police, Mahmoud Joe, who was a very close colleague when I was the Permanent Secretary and Minister of Defense. So you see how Gambia is small. We are all related and all interlinked. And it gives me immense pleasure and honor to preside over the launching of this important book, Pearls of Sustainable Peace, by Mouhammed Al-Amin Trawally. This book is more than a manuscript, it is a moral compass. In these pages, the author calls us to reflect deeply on humanity's responsibility to reject violence, to nurture children in the culture of peace, and to build institutions that uphold justice, dignity, and non-violence. With a clear, authentic voice, he reminds us that peace is not simply the absence of war. It is the presence of justice, equity, tolerance, and human security. I'm happy that the speakers mentioned about our cultures. Michael Hamadi Seka, for example, mentioned about how we grow up, how we are brought up as children. I remember when we were children, we were told short stories. They were not told in vain. It was not only entertainment, it was edutainment, it was education and entertainment. We were taught how to persevere, how to respect our elders, how to know how to respond to crises, how to understand and love diversity, understanding that we are different, but in being different, we are one. And unfortunately, we live in a world now, our differences become our core focus, and not what binds us together as human beings, what bonds us, what brings us together. And the moment, as somebody said, the moment our lenses see the differences, then we begin now to create problems against each other. We have to learn from history. Rwanda had the worst kind of fight ever, the worst kind of massacre. A people against a people who had lived together, intermarried, have been together as one people until they decided to distinguish themselves between one tribe against another. And I cannot tell you the kind of massacre that happened in that country. And nobody would imagine what happened. It was horrific. People burned into churches. Others with cutlasses, they were completely beaten until they were into pieces. We need to explain this. Why? Because that was the bottom of disaster at the lowest level, where human beings became animals and not human anymore. We have seen a lot of other crises. Today, for example, in Israel, we can see what is happening in Gaza. It's horrific. If you don't experience these things, you don't understand what peace means. I'm telling you, you cannot appreciate the peace in the Gambia because you do not know what is unsettlement, what is civil strife, what is disturbance. We've seen what happened in Liberia, in Sierra Leone. Horrible things that happen in Africa here. And honestly, for us in Gambia, I have to say that we are blessed. We are blessed because we have every means of mediating amongst ourselves, of living together and making jokes out of our frustrations and our problems, to be able to bond and live together as one people. Irrespective of our tribes, irrespective of our religions, we have always been one people who have always looked out for the soldier of the other or looked out for the problem of the other. So if today we see the kind of problems we are facing that are caused by probably, I would say misinformed, but probably misguided people, then we are into trouble. And I think this is an apt moment for us to reflect on the type of peace we want in our society. So Trawally writes with passion and courage, drawing inspiration from figures like Mahatma Gandhi. We all know, for those of you who don't read, and I'm afraid that we are talking about writers. But I say, if you don't read, you are a dead man walking. It doesn't matter who you are, even if you wear a uniform. But I'm sure uniform guys are going to read. If you don't read, you are a dead man walking. Even your religion, you must read it to understand it. In this world, everything you must read it. If you are driving a car, you must read the signs to know where to curve and where not to curve. So reading is an indispensable element in nurturing your mind, in making you complete, in making you a human. So you have to read. And if you don't read, you will not understand even the differences between you and the other people. You will not appreciate the people you live with. So you must read. And you must take a book and read. And if I ask you today, how many of you have read a book? Voluntarily, without anybody forcing you. You go and pick a book somewhere, in a library or anywhere. Maybe in the military library, the police library, anywhere. You take a book and read it voluntarily because you love to read. Raise your hand. You see now, you don't read. How many of you have read 3 verses of 3 surahs of the Quran voluntarily, without prayers, out of prayers? 3 surahs of the Quran in the last 3 days. Subhanallah. Reading is indispensable to make your mind, to how they call it, to train your mind, to understand the world. You have to keep reading. And this is why you will not know who is Mahatma Gandhi. You will not know who is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and you will not know who is Malala Yousafzai. But you have to read. And now, these are figures that Trawally has mentioned, and even the painful lessons of history from Adolf Hitler to Pablo Escobar. He blends this with African wisdom, invoking Rwanda's path of reconciliation and the African Union's Agenda 2063, which is silencing the guns. His concept of the Musukuta, Garaba, Mahatma, and Lisa stages is a profound contribution, situating peace education in the home, the school, the workplace, and the social sphere, respectively, demonstrating that peace must be planted, cultivated, and lived at every level of human interaction. In style, his prose is urgent yet hopeful, philosophical yet pragmatic. He moves between storytelling, history, and visionary thinking, making the book accessible to the ordinary reader. So every one of you, if you can speak English, normally you should be able to read. Even if you are from a grade 9 student, you should be able to read the book and understand it. Yet, it is also written enough to provoke policymakers, like the honorable ministers, academics, like some of us. It stands alongside African works such as Ali Masrui. You are not reading, so you don't know Ali Masrui at all. The African Condition, and Wangari Maathai's Challenge of Africa, in its ability to link personal conviction with global concerns. I remember when Trawally brought this book, what, about a year or two ago. Yeah. So he started writing the book a long time ago, and I was impressed. But, you know, I have been very impressed with the young writers lately, because they do a lot of research. And that book was so researched that I had to even call him and find out really whether he did the research. Because the book is very, very rich. And I think this was an exceptional book. So I gave him some little bit of advice, and I'm happy to see that the book is coming out. And by the time I finish, maybe I'll make some few recommendations. Across the world today, we all have seen the instability that I've mentioned. In Ukraine, for example, we have seen the war. We have seen the Palestine conflict in the Middle East. And then there are other conflicts. There are other natural disasters that can also cause instability, such as climate change. Now, at the same time, we have seen the mistrust that is happening between global powers that has led to a renewed arms race and a dangerous reliance on nuclear deterrence rather than dialogue. We have seen, for those of you who are following closely the news, you can see few things happening in some few countries that are potential issues that could create a world war. A world war, I say. And a world war coming up could also create a nuclear disaster. And let's hope it doesn't happen. But in many regions also, we have weak institutions, corruption, and social inequalities widening the gap between citizens and leaders, eroding trust and fueling extremism. Hatred spread through propaganda, ethnic rivalries, and political manipulation. That adds further to the strength. The result is a world where injustice, insecurity, and inequality constantly threaten to undo the progress of development. In this context, the call for sustainable peace, anchored in justice, tolerance, and strong institutions, has never been more urgent. Not to bore you with too many speeches, I'll take just a small digression here and tell you the story. The dog and the cat. You know what is a rooster, right? What is a rooster? Cocorico. Yeah, somebody will call it a cock or a hen, but we call it a rooster. Now, you see the rooster, for all of us who know, they only start calling out in the morning, right? When the sun is about to set up. For some of us, it is a sign that we have to wake up, it's already daylight. And then we know the dog barks when the stranger passes, because it doesn't recognize them. The cat in general is a mild animal. It is always a peaceful lying down there unless there is food somewhere. Now what happened? The rooster decided for the first time to start crowing before the sun came up. And it angered the dog because the dog was sleeping. So the dog said, "What?" And then started barking. And it is speaking, by barking. "Why are you wasting everybody's peace at this moment? We are supposed to be sleeping. Are you the one that the sun is going to respect? That you will have to crow before the sun comes up?" And then the cat said, "Oh, please, for heaven's sake, I am also lying in a peaceful way, so please don't disturb our peace." And they started quarreling, and the noise started growing And as the noise grew, the whole village was pissed off because they were disturbing their sleep. And they brought stones and everything to throw at them. And all of a sudden they realized that they have become the problem of the village. And they gathered together immediately in a corner. And they discussed among themselves. They said, you know what? I think we should just play our role as is required. So rooster, now, henceforth, only crow when the sun comes up. And the rooster accepted. The dog also only bark when there is danger or there is a stranger. And it accepted. And the cat said, I will mildly follow my business without disturbing anyone. And naturally, what happened? Peace and short. What that means, the philosophy and the moral there is that all of us know what our duties are, but we know also how we respect what the other needs to do. We live as a community, we live as a people, we cannot live in isolation. So when we live with other people, everybody has a role that they play. We have to respect the role. We have to respect the role. The one responsible for security must be respected because their responsibility is security. The one responsible to feed or to do agriculture, whatever, must be respected so that there is peace and harmony in a community and you can move out when you want, you can come back when you want. So at the time when wars raged from Ukraine to Sudan and when poverty, hunger, and climate change threaten our collective future, this book is timely. It dares us to dream of a new world order rooted not in nuclear arms and military might, but in dialogue, diplomacy, inclusion, and the dignity of every child. On behalf of the literary and academic community, I commend Mouhammed Trawally for this bold and noble work. Pearls of Sustainable Peace is not only to be read, but to be taught, debated, and lived. Let it be discussed in schools, in faith houses, in policy chambers, and in homes. For in its vision lies the seed of the better tomorrow we all aspire to. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the singular honor to officially launch Pearls of Sustainable Peace by Mouhammed Trawally, and may it shine as a beacon for peace builders in the Gambia, across Africa, and around the world. Thank you.
Pass. Seeing military officers mingling with civilians is a great sign of nation building. What is special about today is not that a young writer is launching a book on sustainable peace. That is not so special. What is special about today is that we have successfully hosted a platform, a kind of which all form of national development from Asia to Africa to Europe has been put on. If you go to Europe, this is how they transform themselves. And this is what we are doing right here in Bawa Hotel. This is so special and it is so dear to me. Having people like Honorable Halifa Sallah in our midst. Greetings to you, sir. People like the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Dr. Abibatu. I greet you. It's an honor to welcome you here, and thanks for honoring the invitation. Dr. Cherno Omar, I greet you, sir. Professor Michael Hamadi-Seka, my humble greetings to you. To Director General Ibrahim Ambu, my personal friend, I welcome you to this program and I greet you. To the Operations Manager of Support Our Own Gambian Foundation, Utman Manja, Oz Jan, welcome to the program. And to the Military Assistant of the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Abdullah Joe, Lieutenant Colonel Abdullah Joe, I greet you, sir. What is remarkable about these people, especially Director Ibrahim Ambu, is that there is somebody that has opened for me all the doors that I need to excel. I don't know how to pay. I sincerely don't know. And I am very grateful to him. What I want to do is to try to send a message and so that people understand this is not an achievement of one person. This is as a result of the effort of many people who the spotlight is not showing. I am not very comfortable with that. To my OC, the organizing committee, Maria Tuba, you have done a remarkable job, my partners in this journey. Please, Maria, are you here? Dedicated my book to. So he remembered these people and know that they are worthy to be celebrated. Even often at times we tend to forget this kind of people who serve us. So to Pierre Rousseau, welcome. The family of Ali Badraju, welcome to the program. I greet all of you. To Mr. Joe, my mentor, you are welcome to the program and your family. My dad is here, my loving dad, Mr. Ibrahim Trawally. Miss Musukuta Sao, who I name one of my stages of peace too. And Lisa is here. The niqab is very beautiful, Lisa. Garaba is not with us because he took the bad way. He was searching for a greener pasture. But his heart is with us today as we launch this book, and a book that contains one of the stages contain. Sorry. Thank you all of you for joining me here. I am sincerely grateful. From Kunkujang Home Red Cross Link to Sunchu Alaji Home Red Cross Link to Sukuta Home Red Cross Link, members of the Gambia Red Cross Society, people from Masjid al-Furqan, you are welcome to this program. You made this program colorful. People from C1, my C1 family, you are welcome to this program. I greet you. My GBPI family, you are welcome to this program. My loving lecturer who always call me favorite is here, Madam John Jennifer, you are welcome. Police for your swift response. You made this day successful and I'm very grateful. The family of the late IGP, you made this event successful. You made everything easy for me. Alhamdulillah, you make this event successful. So if I forget I do not mention you, please forgive me for the burden on me today to deliver a remark where I have to be sincerely appreciative to everybody that make this event successful. And let it not look like it is a one-man thing. It is never a one-man thing. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All praise are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May peace and blessing be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his noble family, his companions, and all faithful followers until the end of time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to all of you. It is lovely to see such a big crowd here today. Thank you, Simano, for that great introduction. This book of sustainable peace is dedicated to the memory of the late Vice President Ali Badraju, a man whose life embodies selfless sacrifice, truthfulness, and devotion to the Christ of the ordinary Gambians. In honoring him, I want to bring to life some of his own words and reflections of those who knew him, not just as title, but as a moral compass. He once said, it is right to do what is right, to get it right, and we have to get it right by doing what is right. This captures his conviction that we must act ethically, even doing so is difficult. He also reminded us that the Gambian people have great expectations and they are no longer at ease. To make them at ease, we have to deliver the development agenda of our government. This reflects his deep sense of accountability. That leadership must meet the hopes and demands of the people, not hide behind the rhetoric. When President Barrow paid tribute to him, he said, in one of his speeches, when he said he did not mind losing his job for telling the truth, he was merely emphasizing this principle. Badara was indeed a principled gentleman. The statement captures the courage that defined him, a leader willing to risk position for conviction, unwilling to betray trust. Others remember him as a gracious teacher, a man of intellect. As one tribute put it, Badara Juf was a living library, and his mastery of syntax and semantics was legendary. These are not just quotes, they are beacons, guiding light for this book. So tonight, as I dedicate the pills of sustainable peace to his memory, I ask that we carry forward his value, integrity, our expediency, justice over favoritism, and always service over self. May his legacy live in the pages of this book, in the hearts of Gambians, and in the actions we take towards a peaceful tomorrow. This book is also dedicated to the memory of the late Inspector General of Police, Ali Mahmoud Joe, who served from the lowest rank to the highest offices in our police force, sacrificing much to uphold law, order, and dignity in the Republic of the Gambia. I wish to bring forward his voice as well as the reflection of those who observe him. So we remember not just a title, but a life committed to service. He once asserted the principle of legal fairness in one of his public remarks. There is no legal instrument that says the APRC should not exist or should be treated otherwise. In other words, he believed deeply that law, not political emotion, must govern treatment, and that institutions must act with bounds of legality and justice. I have a lot to share with you, from my inspiration to writing this book, and so on, but I will suspend that, unfortunately. But I will just conclude by saying, when I began to write The Pillars of Sustainable Peace, I was not chasing a theory. I was searching for an answer to why poverty persists, why injustice breeds freely, and why violence, both structural and physical, has become a language understood across borders, across generations. I started by asking a very personal question: why do societies fail to sustain peace even though they desperately need it? What I discovered and what this book argues is that peace is not the absence of war or noise. Peace is a living structure, built at home, strengthened in school, expressed through our institutions, and celebrated in society. It's a chain, what I call the 4 stages of peace. Musukuta, the home stage; Garama, the school stage; Mahatma, the workplace stage; Lisa, the social stage. Thank you so very much.